Greetings everybody, myself Palkumar Pathak. Welcome to LeetCode problem solving series. Today we are going to solve the question 3120, count the number of special characters 1. We will start by understanding our problem properly and then move to the brute force approach for solving the problem. Then moving to the most optimized solution directly for solving the problem. So let's just start by understanding what our problem is trying to say. So we are given an input word named string which contains a number of lowercase as well as uppercase letters in it. And what our task is that we need to return an integer, a count. A count of what? A count of special characters which are present in the word string. Now what are special characters according to this question? According to the given condition in this question, a special character is a character of which the lowercase form as well as its uppercase form both comes in the given word input string. If both of them comes at least once, then it is counted as a special letter. And we need to return at the end of the code that count of how many special letters are present inside the word. Let me give you an example. So for the first test case, we are having the word this string. And in this, as you can see, we are having mainly three letters, A, B and C. And as you can see, A is a lowercase letter, like lowercase form, as well as its uppercase form, both of them comes in the word input string till the third iteration. So we are having now count equal to 1. Moving to the next iterations, we have both lowercase forms of B and C, and then till the last iterations we have both uppercase forms of B and C. So we know that yes, of A, B and C, all the three letters, we are having lowercase form as well as uppercase forms, all of them coming in the ones from starting till the end. So at the end of the code, we will be returning the count equal to 3 for this test case. So like this way, we need to code such a way that our code returns the count of special letters for the given input test case, or we can say a string, which is the word string. So this is like the complete problem. Let's just now move to the brute force approach for solving the problem. So first of all, obviously we will be needing a count which we will be returning at the end of the code. Now what we can do is now this is brute force, so we can use nested loops. So I think what we can do is that we can simply iterate through each and every letter present in our word. Okay, and during that iteration we will simply check if our current letter is like lowercase, then we will simply check if there is any uppercase form of that letter present inside the word string or not. If yes, then we will increase the count, otherwise we won't. But there is a problem that if there are like duplicate forms too, okay, then we like by doing this way that I just mentioned, we will create an error by ourselves, which will be that we'll count the duplicate cases too. Like for this one, let's say for this one, for the first iteration, we will check if uppercase form of A is present or not. So it will give us yes, so count will be 1. Then again we will encounter another duplicate case of the small like lowercase form of A, which will again give us yes, that yes, uppercase form of A is present. So it will again increase the count, which will obviously give us an error, because we don't need to increase that. We need to increase that for once and once only for a single letter. So I think what we can do is that we can iterate. Now obviously the number of letters that we are having is fixed. It is obviously from A to Z itself. So we have a fixed number of iterations, which is 26. So for this approach, what we can do is that we can simply iterate from A to Z, okay, because we have fixed iterations which will be equal to 26. And during that iterations, what we can do is that we can keep two vectors, okay, one to keep the track, okay. So let's just now move to the brute force approach for solving the problem. So for the brute force approach, so for brute force approach, what we can do is that first of all, obviously we will be needing a integer count which we need to return at the end. Okay, now what we can do further is that obviously it's a brute force approach, so we can use nested loops. So what I think what we can do is that we can iterate through the given complete input string, and we can simply check for each and every lowercase if there exists its uppercase form, then we will simply increase the count by 1. Otherwise, we will move to the next iteration. But that won't work. Why? Because we are having like duplicate cases too. As you can see in the first test case itself, we are having two lowercase a's. So what our code will do if we go through this way is that it will increase the count 2 times. Obviously it will give us an error. So for like not doing that, what we can do is that we obviously our number of letters is fixed, which is 26. So what we can do is that we can simply iterate through all of them like a to z, fixed number of iterations 26, and during that iteration what we can do is that we can use a nested loop to check if our current, we can say, character is like a lowercase character. Then check if its uppercase form is present or not. If yes, then we will make the boolean value of that equal to true. Okay, and if it's not, like if the vice versa condition doesn't exist, like if there is uppercase but no lowercase, or there is lowercase but no uppercase, then like if any one of them gives us a false value, then we will simply move to the next iteration. Otherwise, if both of them are true, then we will increase the count by 1, which can help us to remove the we can say duplicate counts. Okay, this way we can simply solve the problem by using the brute force approach. So let's just go for it to code that part. As I mentioned, we will have our fixed number of iterations. Okay, it will be character because we are iterating from a to z. So character ch will be equal to a, and it will end till z, and we will do ch plus plus. So this way we can move from a to z. Okay, here it will be less than or equal to z. So yeah, this way we can move from a to z. Okay, so during that 26 iterations, as I mentioned, what we will have is we will have two boolean values, lower, which will be false at the start, and upper, which will also be false at the start. And as I mentioned, we will iterate using a nested loop through the complete string that we have. So I equal to 0 and I equal to word dot size. And during that iteration, what we'll do is that we will check that if our current I, so word of I, is equal to ch, then we know that yes, it is the lowercase form itself. So we will make lower equal to true. Okay, and after that we will also check if our current word of I is equal to the two upper part of ch. Then we will do upper equal to true. Okay, so like instead of doing this, what we can do is that like this can also work, I think. Yeah, 2 upper of ch will convert the current lowercase into its uppercase form. Yeah, it can work. Okay, so after this for loop, we can have a check if there is any presence of lowercase form as well as uppercase form of our current character or not. So at the end we will simply check that if lower is true and upper is also true, then simply do count plus plus. And at the end of the code, we will simply return count. This way we can have a perfect solution for the problem. So let's just run the code to check if that works for our main test cases or not. So yeah, it perfectly works. Let's just submit the code to check if that works for our edge cases, internal edge cases or not. It perfectly works. So this way we can solve using the brute force approach. So this was the complete approach. Now let's just move to the optimized approach for solving the problem. Obviously we will be needing the count, so let's just keep that. Now what we can do for the optimized approach is that obviously it gave us 100% time complexity due to the network errors, and you know why it gave, like LeetCode engine, it has problems. But you know that we are using in nested for loops, which is obviously order of n square, and it is a brute force way, not an optimized way to solve the problem. So let's just now move to the optimized solution for solving the problem. Now what the optimization we can do for the approach is that, first of all, obviously we can divide our time into some space, so that we will be taking some time and some space, for which what we can do is that we can keep two vectors. Okay, now how that vectors will help us is that in vectors we will have the count, like not the count of how many times the letter is coming, but the count if our lowercase form is there or not. Okay, like the size of both the vectors will be 26. Okay, and inside both the vectors what we'll have is that we will simply check if our current character is there from A to Z, then we will change the current value of the, we can say, vectors. Like if that's lowercase, then we will change the value of that letter from in the lowercase vector from 0 to 1. And similarly, we will do the same thing for the uppercase too. Like if current character is the uppercase form of any letter, then we will change its value in the uppercase vector from 0 to 1. This way, at the end, we simply need to check for each and every character if its value in the lower vector, like lower named vector for the lowercase storage, if that's equal to 1, as well as the uppercase vectors also value is equal to 1. If both of them are 1, then we know that yes, it has at least come once. So we know that yes, we need to increase the count for that letter because it is a special letter. Okay, I hope you understood what I'm trying to say. Let me just code for that, and I will also like explain once again, so that if anyone is there who didn't understand, they can understand easily. So as I mentioned, we will have two vectors. Okay, both of them will have integer values, and first of all one will be lower. Okay, and it will be having fixed positions, which will be 26, and it will, all of them will be initialized as 0, and another will also be there which will be also int, and again the same thing but for the upper part. So 26 comma 0, and as I mentioned, we will first iterate through our input string, and during that iteration we will simply check here it will be word.size, and during that iteration we will simply check if our current character, like word of I, is like between, like it, if that is present inside the range of lowercase letters z, then we will store, like we will change its value in the lowercase, we can say, vector from 0 to 1. So lower of that word of I minus a. Now I hope you understood what I'm doing here. I am just like using the lower vectors every index, like I am representing every letter from A to Z in the form of an index inside the lower named vector. Like if there is A, so A's place value is 1 in alphabets 1 to 26. So its index will be 1 minus 1, which will be 0 inside the lower we can say named vector. Okay, this way we are going to use every index from 0 to 25 to represent the, we can say, presence of that letter, uppercase or lowercase, inside the word name string by using that indexes from 0 to 25. Okay, by using the place value positions from 1 to 26 which we have in the alphabet world. Okay, I hope you understood what I'm doing here. So this way we will like change its value from 0 to 1, and if that is not, and we can say uppercase, sorry, if that's not a lowercase, then obviously it will be an uppercase value. So we will store it in upper named vector by doing the same thing, word of I minus capital A. So we can store its value in the uppercase we can say vector. So after this for loop, what we'll have is that we will be having every letter's positions presence stored inside lower as well as upper named vector. So now we will again simply iterate through the given input string to us, and during that iteration we will again simply check if the value of current we can say letter of current iteration if that's value in lower as well as upper according to its respective index is equal to 1, then we will simply increase the count for that letter. So if upper of word of that I minus A is equal to 1, for representing which we can simply write it this way, because it represents its integer value, which will be 1. So 1 represents true. So if that's true, and as well as lower of word of I minus lowercase, which is A, if both of them are true, then simply increase the count. Otherwise, don't do anything, and at the end return the count. So this way we are first storing the presence of every letters, lowercase as well as uppercase forms presence inside the lower as well as upper name vectors, and at the end we are again using a single for loop to check if that presence is there in uppercase as well as lowercase. Then we are increasing the count by 1, or we are like moving to the next iteration. Okay, but there is obviously a problem. Why? Because if for we can say obviously it will give us an error for the duplicate cases. Why? Because for again, if there are two A's, then both of that A will work in this if, and it will increase the count and give us an error. Okay, so again instead of doing this like integer like iterating through the word string, what here we can do is that we can simply iterate through our characters from A to Z, again, which will help us to do the same thing. So ch equal to lowercase a, okay, and again it will work from A to Z, and again here it will be ch plus plus. Okay, and here instead of word of I we are going to do ch, and here also word of I replaced by ch. Okay, so I hope what I rectified, like you understood what I rectified. We obviously can't do what like this code was doing just now, because obviously it will give us a duplicate error, and it will give us wrong values for the main test cases or itself. So I rectified that. So I hope this code will perfectly run. Let's just run it to test it for our main test case, if that works for them or not. Okay, it still gives an error. Let me just check what's the problem. Okay, buffer overflow and address. Um, okay, yeah. So, okay, yeah. So I just caught what's the problem. See, we are like iterating from small a to z, and then we are using it directly inside the uppercase, which is obviously a problem, because here it will do small a minus capital A, like for checking the first first iteration. So obviously it will give us an error, because it will give 32 with of which there is no position inside this upper, which is why it is giving an overflow, because we have 26 positions, but in the first iteration itself this will check for the 32th position. Obviously it's an error. Okay, really sorry for that. Okay, I think here I should write to upper of ch, okay, which will convert the current characters form, lowercase form, into its uppercase form. So I think this can work now. Let's just test that if that works for our main test case. So yeah, it perfectly works now. Let's just submit the code to check if it works for our internal edge cases or not. Really sorry for the mistake. I just forgot to it perfectly works, as you can see. So this is our complete optimized solution. It is like order of n now. So this is obviously an optimized way to solve the problem. So this were the approaches to solve the problem. If you like the way I mentioned and solve the problem, you can like the video. If you want to check other questions too, there is the playlist present there, LeetCode problem solving series, in which I am also trying to solve daily questions, daily problems of LeetCode, for following which you can subscribe to the channel. And also if you want to connect with me personally, you can do that by using the social connections link present in the description of the video. Also both these codes, Bruteforce as well as Optimised, will be attached in the form of a repo link, GitHub repo link in the description of the video. You can check that too to try yourself. So thank you for staying till the end. Thank you very much.